Hello, gorgeous, gorgeous ladies. Welcome to the Lioness Method podcast for female business leaders who are passionate about inspiring other women, building amazing teams, and solving real life problems with a growth mindset. I'm your host, Narissa Sue, leadership and legacy coach. And today we're going to be chatting with Anne Rajoo, owner of Virtue Fully and leader of the Come Home to You community, where women redefine motherhood and rediscover themselves. So we are going to chat with her in just a minute. Join us. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So today's guest is Anne, and she is a mom strategist and mentor who creates resources for mothers around the world so that they can feel truly connected to themselves and alive and are taking confident actions towards creating a life they desire and love. She believes that we cannot continue doing motherhood like we have been, alone and sacrificing all of ourselves and missing a connection to who we are, untethered to our families. She is, and so her journey continues, connecting with amazing, like minded mothers to create a wonderful community ready to make small but impactful changes every day to integrate our roles as woman, mother, and individual. So, Anne is joining us from Germany today, where she lives with her husband and her beautiful sons. And welcome, Anne. Good morning.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, no, we're so happy to have you and to share a little bit about what you do. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the community that you built.
Yeah, so where to start, really? I think the community came about based on my own story because I've got two sons now. One is 7, and the little one is 2.5. And with the first one, I ended up being that super mom who wanted to just, be 150% there for this little guy. I had an amazing year. Maternity leave. I was living in the UK, 1 year paid. All the beautiful things we did together was just so nice. Then it was time to go back to work, and it wasn't so nice anymore because there was this other responsibility, and also that other side of me that was coming back of like, I want to have a career, I want to travel the world. I was working in travel at that time. I was hopping on a plane every other week, and it was breaking my heart to leave the little guy behind. And there was a lot of confusion and these really mixed emotions. And at the end, I pretty much ended burned out because I was just doing too much motherhood and too little anything else. And I realized that I totally lost who I was. Like, I forgot who I was as Anne if I wasn't a mom. And that's really what got me into doing what I'm doing today, because I shared that story and I got a lot of feedback in terms of, oh yeah, this is actually happening to me too. And like, thanks for sharing and all this encouragement. And I thought, okay, let's see what I can do, because I always deeply love motherhood, but I realized that maybe the way I was doing it wasn't really sustainable, and there are other ways, and that's what I wanted to share. And I just love connecting, and I think it's so important that we have conversations, in amongst moms, amongst other women, to just really learn and teach each other and support each other. And that's why I started the community, and that's what I'm doing today.
I love that, and there's so much to unpack there. I know that you said that you came from the travel and tourism industry, and you had this wonderful career before you had your child, and I feel like that is so powerful because I think that happens. I really believe that that happens to so many women, that we have these careers. Like, I came from advertising, and you just find, oh my gosh, with my child, it's not as sustainable as I thought it was. So I love that you put this community together. And what are some of the things that you tackle in the Come Home to You community?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things we speak about is, coming back to ourselves, who we are, that we don't necessarily have to sacrifice that person. Of course, in the first few years when the baby is really little, they need a lot of our attention. But eventually, a lot of moms end up doing more and giving more that maybe is necessary. And I think a lot of moms have these big expectations of what motherhood is going to be like. And reality very often is different. Not everything goes well. Like for me, I had a lot of trouble with my first son sleeping. It was such a hard journey, and all these things like we create these expectations, we don't reach them, we feel unhappy, we feel not enough, we've got a lot of guilt going on. And for me personally, I speak a lot about values because I had forgotten what are my values, what is important to me. And once I rediscovered those, it just felt so much clearer, and I had like this path. And when I had to make decisions in terms of, wanting to go back to a corporate job or starting a business, once I had my values in my mind, it was much easier to make decisions. So I like to talk a lot about values, but it's all sorts of things, from self-care to energy management to healthy habits, anything that really can help a mom to just find a way, to make things a little bit easier, or find a way to do all of this with a bit more ease.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. And in my coaching practice as well, I think focusing on your core values, because a lot of the women that you're probably speaking to and that we're speaking to right now, they have had very successful careers. And so they know how to run a business, right? And if we begin to run our lives similarly to how we've been running our business, which is, all the companies that we work for have a set of core values, a mission statement that they follow. So why don't we, right? For our lives, for running the business of our lives. So I love that you tackle values. What are some things that you would recommend in kind of discovering what your core values are?
Well, I think it's really taking the time to look at them, like really making a date with yourself to really say, okay, what is important to me? What lights me up? And what do I want to focus on in my life? And maybe also kind of looking at this transition from before having children to after having children, because what you maybe had in mind for your future might be different because you are now a mom, or 10 years down the line your children are growing up, it might change again, your children getting to teenage years, they're leaving the house. Like I think it's important to look at your values on a regular basis. And I think to really, take the time, write them down, and come back to them and think, okay, is that really my core value, or is that which one has priority? And then pick like 3 of them, I think, to really say, okay, this is what I'm focused on, and run with it. Yeah.
I love that. And do you feel like we have values in different areas of our life, or are they all pretty much consistent all the way through?
That's an interesting question. But yeah, I do think that, they might be different in different areas depending on what you do and what your responsibilities are. But I think overarching, there are these bigger values. For example, for me, is the community, the supporting other women. And that would apply personally when I'm with my friends. That would apply in my mothering, where I'm teaching my children to support other, individuals. It would apply at work. If I was still working in corporate, it would be my team members. So I think there are definitely the really big ones, and then it might cascade down in different areas. Yeah,
And different like sub values. I really feel that.
exactly.
And I love what you're saying about how our values change, because we are not the same woman that we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And my goodness, maybe not even a year ago with this whole pandemic stuff, right? So
Absolutely, yes.
I love that advice about just constantly kind of reevaluating what is important to you. And so it sounds like you have been through a lot to be able to get to this place to lead a community and to have such a strong value system. Like, what are some challenges that you had to break through in order to follow your dreams and to kind of step into this role?
Yeah. Well, I think the main things were really that I had this confusion of how I felt, that I didn't feel happy as a mother, but I was like, but you've got everything you wanted. You've got a beautiful child. You've got a job that is okay. I had flexibility. It was paying me not too bad. I had a wonderful partner. We had moved to Mauritius. We had a house. pool, sunshine, beach, what else can you ask for? But I
The
wasn't
dream,
happy and I
living
felt
the
really
dream.
confused.
Mhm.
Exactly. I was like, this is what you wanted. Why are you not happy? And I felt really guilty because I kept thinking, somehow there must be more. But I couldn't put my finger on. And then, unfortunately, my mom passed away very unexpectedly and suddenly, and she was still very young, 56 years old. And that also was that moment of like awakening of like, what am I doing with my life? It could just end at any time and you don't know. And I'm
Mhm.
just, yeah, I've got like ideas and dreams, and I already had been thinking about starting a business, or I love being creative. I had a little craft business on the side, but I didn't feel confident enough to do it, to put it out there. And when that happened with my mom, I was like, yeah, but if I don't put it out there, it will never get out there, and I will never do the things that really light me up. And that was really the moment when I was like, I just got to do it no matter what. I fall, I fail, I fall, I make a fool out of myself. It doesn't matter. At least I tried, at least
Mhm.
I did everything possible for me to make this life that I have the best life I can lead, and that was the big moment. And then I had my second child. Um, just when I had decided that it took quite long to get pregnant again with my second one, and I kind of had to say, okay, if it doesn't happen, we're just going to have the one, and I'm going to focus on my business. And then I got pregnant. I was like, all right, well,
That's
now you got
always when
two.
it
Okay,
happens, right? When we're like, okay, I'm
it's just
I'm perfect,
exactly,
everything's okay the way it is, and then boom.
exactly. Like, what's happening? Anyway, like I was happy. It was great that we've got the two boys and all. And I took my maternity leave. Was supposed to come back, and then they said, no, sorry, we've got to make you redundant. And that moment was like, okay, I actually don't want to come back. I'm gonna try to do some business of my own. And that was, yeah, I didn't really expect it. So I had no idea what I was going to do, and I had no idea how I was going to do it. And that was just in February before the pandemic. So in March we went into first lockdown. February I had launched my business. My son was like 6 months old, my little one, and it was not the best time to launch a business. But anyway, there I was. I was like, I'm doing it, and I went for it. And definitely that was quite a challenge.
Mhm. Well, I don't know. I'd venture to say it was a perfect time for you to launch that business because it seems like it's working out now, right? So I think it's
Yeah, in
whenever we're
hindsight,
called
but
to,
definitely
yeah. No, I totally,
it
and
wasn't
it's just
easy.
such a big and scary decision, right? Because it's
Yes.
not easy. There's so many moving parts that
No.
are
And my
in
husband
place.
went, because of pandemic, my husband works in tourism, and in Mauritius, the whole tourism industry is shut down for almost 2 years. And there was at least good 6 months where he had half, no, I'm not sure, yeah, because he was on voluntary leave and all. So he had half pay, I had no income, and that was definitely not a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that would be scary. And you persevered. So, what are some things that you did that helped you get there or to kind of gain
I
momentum?
think the main part was to just go and do it. I had a lot of fears and a lot of confidence issues, but I really just put them on the side and said, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm giving it my best, and my best is good enough. And not everyone needs to like me, not everyone needs to enjoy what I'm doing. I'm just going to put it out there. And I think I've always authentically shared that as well. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing really, but I'm doing it. And people really, I can so relate to that. And thanks for just saying that you're scared and that you don't know. And that's, I think, was the main part. Just little things, one step at a time, and then being persistent as well. Not giving.
Oops. Looks like our internet connection is having a little bit of a challenge, but I know Anne's going to be back. But I love what
Few
she's
days.
saying, you
I don't know
guys,
what.
about being
Yeah,
fearless. Oh, there you are. You're back.
yeah. My internet is a bit crappy these days. It's been on and off. I don't know. They must be fixing some cables on the island.
No, I think it might be a little universal. It's just been a little bit shaky all the way around, I feel like. So, not to worry. But yeah, so you were talking, and I love that. So basically, just showing up courageously and imperfectly, right? You're just like, here I am, I'm doing this thing, and I'm just making it happen one step at a time. Oh no, I think we lost you again. But I do love that because you have to have courage,
Oh,
ladies.
sorry, this is
It's
annoying. It's been happening all the time these days.
it's
All week.
okay. I was just talking about how wonderful it is that you're just jumping out there and being willing to do things imperfectly, because I think that's what real leadership truly is it's not about being perfect, it's not about having all the right words, it's about standing up and saying I'm willing to take on this role and to do it imperfectly and just showing up
Yeah,
authentically,
exactly.
and sometimes it's going to be messy.
Exactly. And surprisingly, it is somehow really inspirational to a lot of people because I think this fear that I felt as well, a lot of people fear. So if you actually go and do it, it's somehow it's like, oh yes, she is doing it. I got a lot of these
Mhm.
comments which I did not expect at all.
Mhm. Well, that's
Let
beautiful.
me
I
see.
think
I'm
you
gonna
said it.
try
Like you're,
and wait.
I know that's
I'm gonna
beautiful. I
switch.
know that you were saying that you're really just inspiring others by just being yourself, right? Because that's always enough.
See if that works better.
Yes,
Can you hear me okay? Maybe I hope this
they're
can work
coming through
now.
loud and clear. Yes. So
Yay.
no, it's perfect. I know it's the internet. What are we going to do? But I'd love to hear more about how you have been able to build confidence, because I know that's something that you've mentioned a couple times. So what are some things that you have
Yeah.
done to feel like you're enough and to be confident in this leadership role that you're doing wonderfully?
Well, I think first of all, it's being less critical about myself. Like really saying good is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think I started with something, just something that I thought, okay, I can do it. And yes, it was maybe not comfortable, but I was able to do it. And I kept doing it for a while and I got better. And I took the next step of, for example, video conversations. I was really scared of putting a video on, going live on Facebook or Instagram, things like that. I was really, really scared. But I
Mhm.
did it in some sort of way, very short, quick. Like I committed, I think it was one that was the first Christmas. I had a Christmas calendar where I decided I would go live in my tiny Facebook group every single day until the 31st of December, and I would share something. And that's what I did. And it took away the fear because I was just doing it, no matter how many people watched. I mean, there was days where no one watched, but I still did it for myself. I didn't do it necessarily for this big audience, anyone looking, but really, okay, you've got a fear of video, just put it on and talk to yourself. And that's what I did. And the same with like, I started out writing email newsletters quite regularly. Initially, I didn't like writing. Now I love writing because I've been doing it every week for 2 years. And it's, like I really realized that when you practice, when you do something over and over again, you get better. And yes, you start maybe at a crappy level, but it improves with time. And that's what matters. And people stick around, people don't stick around. So be it. Yeah, that's I think the main part.
I love that. I think what you're describing is progress, baby steps, like just making progress over perfection, right? And just giving ourselves some grace, because everybody is in a state of learning and nobody has this stuff figured out. I think that's the biggest joke. But when we become adults, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I looked around, I was like, these adults really know what's going on, and you're almost like you're following them because they're like, oh, this person knows what they're doing. And then the older you get, you realize, I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows what the heck is
No,
going on. We're
no
all just
clue.
winging
Exactly.
it. It's so funny.
Absolutely.
And I love what you're saying about just jumping in and sharing in your Facebook group, because I feel like that's a hurdle a lot of entrepreneurs and face in their business is they have this beautiful product or this service or this thing that they want to share with the world, and they're really, really afraid to get on camera and talk about it, right? Because they don't want to feel like an imposter or feel like they don't come across perfectly. It's that whole fear of looking good, right?
Yes.
So, and I know that you and I had the pleasure of working together around this specific topic. Would you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about your experience about our session?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the session was amazing, so I'm happy to share about it. Where do you want me to start? Just
Wherever
share
you
how
like.
I felt, what we did.
Yes. How
Yeah, I
what
mean,
how
you came into the membership to so that we would talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, and you took me through. I think it's called the timeline coaching.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
we went on a
you
little
that timeline
journey.
exercise.
Mhm.
Exactly. We went on the journey into the past, and to try and find out where this feeling. And I think we pinpointed that mainly I felt imposter syndrome about my worth and my value, like to other people. So we tried to find out where this came from. We went back into the past, and we went quite far, much further than I had expected, and came to this rather small incidents now that I look at it, where in kindergarten I was forced to drink milk, and I hated milk. So I would have to sit on that tiny table facing the wall every day, having my lunch and drinking my glass of milk. And I wouldn't be allowed to get up before I had finished that glass of milk. And most of the days after that, I would run to the toilet and throw up. And for me, that was so impactful that I felt not valued. Not I'm not worth the attention. I'm not worth the compromise. Okay, she doesn't like milk. She can't do that. Let her be. I was forced to drink that thing that was really disgusting to me,
Mhm.
and you made me realize in that moment that what happened there didn't have anything to do with me, really, with me as Anne, that little girl. It was some sort of thing that was going on for that kindergarten teacher who probably just felt like, old fashioned parenting, super strict. You've got to do what I say, and everyone has to drink their milk, and there you go. This is what we're going to do. But for me, somehow it turned into, this is about me, and they don't love me, they don't care about me. And then there was further incidents in life, like we went to this other moment in life where I had this like close friend who I was looking up to, who I admired, who humiliated me in front of all my friends. And again, that I internalized that as like, I'm not valued, I'm not worth to be loved and all of that. And that was interesting because I mean, I knew it came from childhood, but I never really went back and thought about what are the incidents, because I always think I had amazing parents. They were loving, caring. I had no major trauma in my childhood, yet I have a lot of disconfidence. And I mean, I remember like later in life, I had to stand on a stage, and I was laughed at because I was like wiggling with my dress, and someone was making a joke about it. But it really burned into my sense of worth and my
Mhm.
confidence. And
Yeah,
yeah, and
and
that was just amazing
ultimately,
that
I
you took
feel
me
like
back, like until I don't know how old I was, 4, probably
yeah,
5.
yeah, you're very young, right? And all the things that you're saying are so important because a lot of times, like our subconscious mind is really what holds on to all these memories, and it can't distinguish, like when you say it wasn't major trauma, right? But it's the traumatic event is how you felt inside at that moment when you were 5 years old, right? And so it could be different levels for every person, but it doesn't negate that it created pain there, right? Pain that wanted to be released and emotional charge. So when you were able to release that out of those specific events without necessarily having to reassociate into those feelings, like how were you ultimately able to feel at the end of your journey?
I felt I think I felt relieved that, this was okay, this happened, but it doesn't mean anything about you as a person. It's an event. Um, I think I felt really relieved, but also looking at it from like this grown up perspective now, and putting it in perspective of like, that was really back then when I was 4 or 5. It doesn't matter today. It doesn't have, it's not, it shouldn't play a role in how I feel about myself today, because I have achieved certain things, and I deserve the things, and I'm worth the things. And that was
Mhm.
really just to understand that, the fear of like showing up in my business and building that community and shouting it from the rooftop goes back to when I was 5. I mean, it's just like, really, and come on,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I think this was the other emotion
Well,
where I
and
really felt
it's
like,
so
no.
human. It's so human, right? It just means that you're a human being, right? And
Yeah.
so now, how do you feel about being enough and about being showing up authentically in your business?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, confidence again is growing with every step I take, because I
Mhm.
show up, I do it, I see some success. Success is building, makes you feel good. But I think for me personally, how I speak to myself has changed. Of like, like, and you're worth it, and you can do this, and even if it's imperfect and messy, you can still do this. And I think is again like connecting the values and knowing what my passion is, and I really want to do this, and I really want to make this work, and I'm not going to have these confidence issues let me stop. I don't want them to have this power over me.
Mhm.
So I also try now to kind of turn around this. I mean, I still get very nervous when I have to go on camera, but I'm trying to turn that around and tell myself, no, I'm actually excited. I'm actually
Mhm.
really happy that I have the opportunity to speak to you today and to share my message, and to show up on camera. And instead of feeling nervous and anxious about it, I'm like, no, this is cool. I like doing this. Let's do
This
it.
is
So I think,
fun.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm. I love that. And you have such a beautiful message to share. And I believe everything that you're sharing right now resonates with so many women out there and men, actually. I think that imposter syndrome, not feeling like we're enough, I think those are human beliefs, right? If there was two beliefs that I encounter very often, it's around being lovable, being valued, or I guess there's three: being lovable, being valued, and being enough, right? So uh, so that kind of wraps it all up, and it's very human. And when we're able to kind of tackle that, it just opens up a whole, expands a whole new level of leadership. So you can ultimately serve the women that you're serving. So what? And thank you so much for sharing about your experience. I just really appreciate you for doing that.
I appreciate that you did it with me.
Yes, no, it was my pleasure. So, what other ways are you finding inspiration and maintaining clarity for what you do?
Okay. I think for me, I I always struggle to integrate things like journaling or meditation. um, I'm quite always on the go. I'm more. I want to be productive, and I'm finding it hard to shut down. But I realize that taking it a little bit slower and taking time to think and put things out of my head onto paper sometimes really helps. So I
Mhm.
created a little kind of morning routine that is not. I wouldn't call it journaling, but it really looks at my goals for the day, my intention, and I forgot the third one now, out of my
Maybe
mind now, but
gratitude.
there's exactly. Thank you very
Gratitude.
much. Exactly. And
Yay.
that's really quickly, look, three bullet points for each. And I
Mhm.
do that not straight in the morning, because my kids are very early risers and they're very active, and they don't give me a break in the morning. But I do that once they're out of the house, and I sit down on my desk and before I start work. So I take 10 minutes to do that, and that really helps. And I also realized that creativity is very important to me. I used to do a lot of like crafts, macrame, sewing, drawing. And because I got so busy, I stopped. But I often do, I don't know what you actually call that, but coloring those mandalas.
Oh,
I've got this
yes.
little book and I color them, and that just calms me down so
Mhm.
much, because
That is a meditation all within itself.
exactly. So I don't meditate with like the sense of like sitting down, closing my eyes, but this coloring, that really is my form of meditating and my little creativity boost, which really helps me to to think, and ideas come from that, and yeah, again, taking time to process things, which I did not always do because I was always on the run, but it's important to take time.
Beautiful. I love that. Yes, rest is a form of self-care. Especially for those of us that are running like we were talking before we got on the podcast about, oh, are you on your second or third shift today?
Exactly.
As working moms, there's like 3 shifts during the day. So you're like, what shift are you on right now? So, well, wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today and for just sharing from your heart. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you and to find out more about what you're doing? Do you have a website, or what's your Instagram handle?
Yeah, so website is comehometoyou.net. So this is where the community, space where you find out about the community. And on Instagram, I'm underscore and Rajoo underscore, so ANNERAJOO. And that's, yeah, I mean, I'm not there crazy amount, but this is the only social media I use really. So yeah, connect with me there. That's the best.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much, Anne. This was so much fun, and we really appreciate you. And to you, if you're listening to this podcast all the way through to the end, I really appreciate you. And keep listening, like and share this content so we can continue to create good content for you. And if you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out directly. I'll put our information in the show notes so you have it. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. And until next time, live in gratitude and be light. All right, bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.